Welcome to Modern Nerdom.
Nerds?
Nerds.
Nerds! What is a nerd?
With Rocky.
Rocky, do you believe that America is the land of opportunity?
Wish me luck, I'm gonna need it.
Oh, hey, I don't believe it! Hey, the champ is down!
And the Brain.
You're every bit the detective that your followers on the internet believe.
Gee, Brain, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
Live from Modern Nerdom Studios, it's Rocky and the Brain. Welcome to episode 4 of Modern Nerdom. Here we'll be covering the big summer movie preview. The big movies are just around the corner. We've actually just gone through our first movie, Oblivion, which came out this past weekend, which I was able to see, and we will give a little quick review about later. I know my colleague has not seen it yet, but with me, as always, is my co-host, Rocky.
Yes, Brain, I do agree. I am oblivious to Oblivion.
Well said. Yeah, it apparently Tom Cruise wasn't oblivious in this film, and I'll cover that later.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your review.
And I do promise our listeners it will be spoiler-free. First up, it's time for Nerd News.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
It's time for Nerd News with the Brain. First up, we had today came out the Xbox Next Generation console will be revealed coming May 21st. They're going to have a streaming press conference on Xbox Live, Xbox.com, and on TV on Spike Television.
That's awesome. I didn't know that until you just told me. So that is great news. Do you know if they're going to broadcast that on G4? The game?
That's a great question, Rocky. They're actually not just going to be on these three platforms. Definitely, the reason why they picked Spike is because it seems like Microsoft has developed quite a relationship with Spike TV.
Yeah, and also Spike TV, they do televise the video game awards every year. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Up next, J.J. Abrams, in an interview with Playboy magazine, the 20 Questions with Playboy they do each month, he spoke about and actually hinted at doing a third Star Trek film. With everything he has on his plate, this came as a very big surprise to a lot of readers. He says he's excited to work with George. He actually talked about balancing the two franchises, Star Trek and Star Wars, and how at first he was very fearful of taking on both projects, but Kathleen Kennedy sweet-talked him into taking on Star Wars. And one thing he's really most excited about, that he wasn't able to do with Star Trek, because he is very well-spoken. Everyone knows that J.J. Abrams is more of a Star Wars fan than Star Trek. And it was not a pleasant choice for a lot of Trekkers out there when J.J. Abrams was announced to be helming a new rebooted Star Trek film. But he grew on the Star Trek fans, and he's definitely taken on the responsibility that the fan base has for that franchise. And one thing he really pointed out was he never really got to speak with Gene Roddenberry, obviously, because Gene Roddenberry is deceased, but he's very excited about working with George Lucas and being able to consult with him and actually being able to ask the guy who created these characters, will this work? Would this work with this character? And that'll definitely play out very well on screen. I think that he'll be able to get that input. And I hope for a very good episode 7. And I do hope he continues on and does a third Star Trek.
Yeah, well, I think if, from what it looks like, the new Star Trek looks like it's going to be excellent. So I think that if it does well, they'll definitely continue providing the funds for him to produce more movies.
Exactly.
But, going back to Star Trek and Star Wars, I do expect J.J. Abrams to have some lens flare in Star Wars. Because in the new trailer there is, in the new Star Trek trailer there is lens flare. So
You're absolutely right. It seems like every other scene, and I mean, we all know that's a trademark of J.J. Abrams filmmaking. Every director has his little mark he puts on his films or her films, and we pretty much know what J.J. likes to do.
Lens flare, and there'll be lightsaber lens flare too.
I am very excited to see what he does with lightsabers and especially blaster shots. I want to see what kind of lighting he uses with those kind of scenes. I think it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, the third thing on the docket is we're actually going to get Justice League, the big picture adaptation of Justice League. Apparently, it is tied to the success of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel coming out in June. If it does well and makes a lot of money at the box office, you can pretty much expect there will be a full-length Justice League feature film. And apparently, Zack Snyder will be attached as director.
And for those of you who don't know, Justice League is DC's version of the Avengers, of the Marvel Avengers.
Involved Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, Martian Manhunter, and a few select others over the years.
Yeah. And I like Zack Snyder, and I think he's going to do very well.
And we'll talk about the trailer in a minute, but oh god, I mean, I am so pumped for that, and the fact that Hans Zimmer is reimagining the sound and soundtrack for this film. I am very pumped for this, but we'll go in detail later on.
All right, moving along.
Well, latest in Marvel news, a couple of things. Bryan Singer confirms today, actually, that Bishop and Warpath are going. For all you diehard Marvel fans out there, you got to be pumped for this. I mean, Bishop on screen, Days of Future Past. That they're staying true to the comic. That's what they're saying.
That's awesome because I remember buying the first issue of X-Force, and
yep. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. I can't wait to see the first still shots of Bishop in costume. Oh,
I agree.
And speaking of still shots in costume, did you see the new Storm costume? A lot of flack going on around it. It's not very positive from the fans because everybody wants that 90s style Days of Future Past white hair mohawk Storm. Did they give that to us? No. But, we'll have to live with it. Not everyone's a big fan of the Halle Berry version of Storm, but I think we're just going to be kind of forced into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I think that she makes a great Storm. Maybe they could have found someone better, like maybe Jada Pinkett Smith.
No, that's not a bad choice. I got to be honest with you. I actually like that option, Jada Pinkett Smith. I think Storm is a lot more of an independent woman. And she was a leader, a regal leader of her people. She is a queen of her people. And she remembers, if you know anything about Marvel, she marries the Black Panther.
Uh-huh.
And she's royalty, and you don't want to mess with her. And I think Jada Pinkett Smith definitely would fit that role a lot better than Halle Berry would. But that's talk for another show.
Yeah. Much love to Halle Berry. But much love to Halle Berry. You're doing a great job. Just in case she's
Swordfish.
listening.
Okay. The last bit of news: Scarlett Johansson and Samuel Jackson were seen the other day on set for Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the sequel coming out next summer in 2014. So apparently, be ready for more crossovers, people. It looks like Nick Fury and Black Widow will definitely be playing a role in the next Captain America film.
All right. And I do want to add that I'm glad that Samuel hasn't died yet in this movie yet, because he usually dies within maybe the first 30 minutes of every movie that he's in. So
hold on to your butts.
Yeah. Hold on to your butts.
At least he got to say it twice before he died.
Yeah.
In a world where films are no longer original and sequels can reach up to the number 6, 7, 8, well, you get the point. Where superheroes can level an entire world just to save it. And a comedy can be so awful you walk out of the theater saying, "What the hell was that?" This is the Big Summer Movie Preview.
Now it's time for the Big Summer Movie Preview. Rocky, we're going to start off with the May movies, which are just around the corner. And obviously the first big tentpole movie of the summer is going to be Iron Man 3.
Awesome. I love Iron Man 3. Or Iron Man series.
Absolutely, Rocky. Iron Man 3 looks to be a very good film based on, I think we've seen about 13,000 trailers and TV spots at this time. My God, I think they've overwhelmed us with footage. I feel like I've almost seen the entire film at this point.
Yeah, and like the thing I'm most excited about is seeing all those people in the Iron Man costumes, and Pepper. She gets to put on the costume like she did in the comic book.
I know. I'm very excited about that. You know, and any red-blooded American, and apparently she actually interesting tidbit that came out today. Gwyneth Paltrow was voted the most beautiful woman in the world by People magazine today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised she beat Kate Upton or Megan Fox or something.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the villain in Iron Man 3. It is the ultimate villain choice in the Iron Man series, the Mandarin.
Oh,
and,
yeah. He is. When I was a kid, when I collected the Marvel trading cards, Mandarin was my favorite.
Marvel masterpieces. I remember them very well.
And seeing all his rings and all
the
that
10
stuff.
rings. That's right.
So I'm excited to see him. That's what I'm most excited about. Not too much Iron Man himself, but Mandarin.
Well, I think the Mandarin is a great start for us to really start to capture that fantastical type villain in Marvel, because I don't know how we would deal with Fing Fang Foom. I don't know if we're ready to hang on with that type of villain yet, but Mandarin is a great stepping stone, I think, for the more fantastical, which we will see next summer with Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, what's interesting with the Mandarin choice of Ben Kingsley, because, as you know, Ben Kingsley is Indian in nature. He actually played Gandhi, if you remember, Academy Award-winning film. So it'll be interesting to see him play a role that's really not geared towards his cultural background. It's supposed to be more of a Chinese character, more of an Asian-type character, not a Middle Eastern kind of or Indian character.
I think he'll do a good job because he's a good actor. But that's, we have Iron Man 3, but we have a lot more goodies.
Absolutely. May just keeps on getting better. A couple weeks later, we have Star Trek Into Darkness. We talked a little bit about J.J. Abrams earlier on in the Nerd News, but what's even more exciting about this film is when you see the trailer. The latest trailer had a very... He and I were looking at this actually the other day. We saw that there was an interesting ship coming out of the background in the scene in the trailer, and it actually very reminiscent of the style of disc-shaped style of the Enterprise E and D from Next Generation. But we do know that ship is not from the future. It is a current ship that is in the Star Trek universe of that reality that we're now in with Abrams' Star Trek.
So it's kind of like a Enterprise 2.0, if you will.
It kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But apparently that's the villain's major ship that he is on, that we see him on the bridge on in the trailer. Well, what do you think about Cumberbatch playing the major villain? I know everyone, he seems to be the actor right now, especially you see him in the Sherlock's TV series. He's voicing Smaug in the Hobbit films. He's definitely a hot commodity right now.
Well, it's too early to tell at this point, but so far he's made a good impact, and I think that his acting abilities would prove worthy. But at this point, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how he does in his first real big screen role. in a major film. So we'll see how he does. But we continue comedy to end all comedies. A comedy that will end a trilogy of a really funny and awesome film, a not so funny and repeat of an awesome film, and finally a fitting, hopefully fitting conclusion to the Hangover series, Hangover Part 3.
Yeah, when I heard that they were making a Hangover Part 3, I was skeptical. I didn't like, when I watched the first Hangover, I was like, yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I didn't think it was as funny as other people thought. And then when Part 2 came out, I thought it was just a rehash of Part 1. But after seeing the trailer for Part 3, I think that, this is funnier than the other two, actually. And I think that it does bring something new to the series.
What I really enjoyed in the trailer was the fact that it starts off with the funeral of the father of basically of half of the wolf pack, if you will, and the eulogy that is given by the son, played by Zach Galifianakis, that we have grown to love that character over these films. And it's a couple of the lines that he comes up with, and the way he pronounces words as that character are just absolutely hilarious. Yeah. The way he pronounces rather than rather. I mean, it's just little things like that make the film so hilarious. And I hope Todd Phillips does a great job on this again. He directed the previous two in the franchise. And I'm very hopeful from the clips I've seen. I hope those aren't the funniest clips. I hope there's better ones to follow, because usually when you shoot your load that quick, it turns out not to be a great film after all.
Yeah, and so far I think that the Hangover Part 3 looks really, really good right now. So.
Well, I love the fact that we use animals. Have you not noticed the theme of animals in these films? You have the tiger, the Bengal tiger in the first one. Uh-huh. You have the monkey in the second one. A little bit of the monkey in the third one, but more so a giraffe on an interstate. That's all I need to say. Watch the trailer and you'll understand.
Yeah.
So our final film of May is After Earth. It is Will Smith's next major motion picture, starring alongside, for the, I think, third or fourth time, his son.
Jaden.
That's right, Jaden. And apparently it is set in a sci-fi type situation. They're leaving Earth and then end up going to another planet, and then they end up getting marauded on Earth when their ship deals with some issues in space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like a movie that's already been done before. It looks like a cross between Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Avatar.
Yeah.
But
it very much does. We were talking about that when we were watching the trailer together the other day. It's definitely, it looks like a rehash of a lot of mythologies, but when I go into my review of Oblivion, you'll hear more about rehashing of science fiction mythologies. I mean, I think that's going along a lot. That's happening a lot in these films. Uh-huh. I think we're just running out of original ideas, and it's maybe not original ideas. Let me rephrase that. We're not exploring enough differences in the themes that we know. I think the mythologies are great, and the archetypes should be kept true to science fiction and fantasy, but we need to be exploring more of these themes.
Yeah, and I think that that this movie would appeal to viewers that really aren't into comic book characters, or who couldn't handle Avatar, the CGI and animation and all that stuff. So maybe it's trying to appeal to that crowd that wants to.
Yeah, I think it's Gary. I think this movie is definitely geared towards the family. It looks like a family film. It's about a father and a son. Father trying to talk, his father who's injured, who you see in the trailer is injured, trying to talk his tough time and trying to save their lives. So he's having to rely on his son to save his life.
Yeah.
And It's definitely looks like a story of a father or son story. It's definitely a rent for me. I'm not probably going to go to the theaters to see that film because there's just so many as we continue on. There's just so many movies coming out this summer that, I mean, and the price of movies now, I don't know that I would take the extra money aside to go see After Earth.
Uh-huh. Yeah, same here. I think it's definitely going to be like a renter for me, like the Red Box.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to June. Let's see what's up with June. So we start off with a very funny, extremely funny trailer of This Is the End. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited about this film. I think we talked about it on a previous show. It's starring all of these actors playing themselves, a bunch of young comedians and young actors like Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel, and it takes place at James Franco's house. Apocalypse is occurring all throughout Los Angeles, and there's a big party going on, and everyone's reacting to it. And there's one really good scene in that. I could describe it to you guys.
Yeah, when we first spoke about this, I never heard of this movie before, but you sent me the link to the trailer. I went to check it out, and I thought it was funny that they used, the actors use themselves, like their own names, as the characters. But the part that really made, I guess, the entire trailer, the one part that I loved was Emma Watson's part. And I think that, like, honestly, I think that that really surprised a lot of other people as well, because that was the highlight on Yahoo's news feed, that Emma Watson was playing that, and her little line, like her robbing James Franco and team.
Yeah, definitely. And Emma Watson is getting out there and doing some fun things. This released a trailer for Bling Ring, which is based off a true story documentary style kind of reenactment of a bunch of young folks who were sneaking into celebrity houses and stealing some of their stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's an interesting scene with Emma getting down on a pole dancing going on. Clothes on, people. This is a family show. But she was showing her pole dancing skills. And apparently she enjoys having an axe in time of the apocalypse and tearing down your home looking for any food and water you might have.
Yes.
And which we got the lovely response from Danny McBride, who you may know from Eastbound and Down, and which he described Emma Watson as Hermione is stealing our shit. Yeah, and I think that was the line that really pulled me into this film and said, okay, this stuff's going to be hilarious. This is a great idea, concept, and they've seen it through.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to this one. That's definitely going to be one of the movies I see in June. So, next up is the movie I have predicted will be the biggest movie of the summer. This is the tentpole film. This will be the movie people are talking about all year and will say is the best film of the year. And that is Man of Steel. Coming out in June. I am extremely excited. Zack Snyder is helming this film. Yes.
You may know him from Watchmen and 300. Very visionary director. He puts beautiful visuals on screen. You may have seen Sucker Punch, which was not a great overall story, but the imagery and the filmmaking, the visuals in that film is just unbelievable. This guy definitely has a great eye for making art on screen. And if you've seen these 3 trailers that are out right now, it's an emotional experience seeing these trailers. If you don't have a little bit of a tear in your eye after seeing it in the theater, seeing the trailer in the theater, and hearing Hans Zimmer's score as it crescendos throughout the trailer towards the end, where you're seeing the first interactions between General Zod and Superman, or Clark Kent, if you will, or Kal-El. And, I mean, it's just... I think the film is going to blow a lot of people away. And I think There's a lot of excitement, a lot of nervous anxiety amongst WB, Warner Brothers. But I think it's all going to pay off in the end. I think this film is going to bring in a ridiculous amount of money. I think we're finally going to see a true re-envisioning of Superman.
Yeah, I agree. My first impression when I heard that they were changing his suit, that really pissed me off. And I thought that, okay, Hollywood's taking it too far. This movie's going to bomb. Fuck this shit. But after seeing the trailer, I have high hopes for Man of Steel.
Absolutely, Rocky. I think it's going to be an absolute hit out of the ballpark. It's going to be a great film. I can't think of better people to work on it. I'm very excited about Henry Cavill playing Clark Kent Kal-El, Superman. I'm very excited about Amy Adams playing Lois Lane. I think she just got that moxie, that Lois Lane needs in that character. And very much more than Kate Bosworth had in Superman Returns, which I actually liked. Amongst other critics who did not like it, I thought Superman Returns was not a bad film. But, it was Bryan Singer's vision. It was a different version. But, every Superman has it's definitely not as bad as Superman 4 in Nuclear Man. I will say that much. Yeah. But I think this is our first true Superman reimagining since Christopher Reeves passed away. And I think it's very much a tribute. It should be attributed to all of the folks that have been involved from start to finish. This has been a very long process developing this film. And I'm glad that there's been a lot of time, effort. Christopher Nolan has done a great job and mentoring and helping Zack Snyder through this process and bringing a new feel, the same kind of feel that was brought to Batman to reinvigorate that franchise. So I'm very excited about it, and that's about all I have left to say on Man of Steel. All I can say is I can't wait.
Same here.
So Monsters University, sequel to the Monsters, Inc., which came out many years ago, one of the first films from Pixar Studios. And what's really exciting about this is it's a prequel. It's set in the events of these guys going to Scare School, if you will, Scare University, and they're learning how to become monsters, how to do their jobs, Yeah. And in this fictional world of Monstropolis and everything. And it's involving Sully and Mike Wazowski, which we remember from the original film, and voiced by the same guys again. That's what I'm excited about. Having Billy Crystal do something again. I'm a big Billy Crystal comedy fan, and having him being involved again with Monsters, I'm very excited.
Yeah, well, I really don't have too much to say about Monsters University because I haven't really seen the first one. All I know that is John Goodman played the voice of Sully.
That's right. Right. John Goodman and Billy Crystal made a great duo in that film.
Yeah.
And the story is so great tale to heart, and it was a very good movie, and the animation was fantastic, and I definitely look forward to seeing that. And Disney actually, in our neck of the woods, just unveiled a Monsters University monorail today. So they have Iron Man 3 running on one track, and they got Monsters University running on the other. Way to go, Disney. Keep your marketing train rolling. So I think the final movie we have up for the month of June is World War Z. Definitely the Z stands for, Rocky, what does Z stand for here?
Zesty. Nah. No, Z stands for zombie.
That's right.
Yeah. And, as some of you may know, let's go back for a little bit. Mel Brooks, the creator of Dracula, Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein, movies like that.
Yeah.
His son, Max, wrote a book called The Zombie Survival Guide, which was a huge hit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then his follow-up was World War Z, which was a book about, testimonials about different people during the zombie apocalypse. So World War Z, the book, did not do as well as, or its reviews was not as high as the zombie survival guide. So in the beginning, a lot of people were very skeptical about how this movie was going to turn out, but they did cast Brad Pitt, and as we all know, that if Brad Pitt's in a movie, it's going to be good. And I just pulled that out of my ass, but
The ladies do truly love Brad Pitt.
yeah, I agree, and I have noticed that Brad doesn't make a lot of movies now, but the ones that he does make, it's high in quality. And I know that World War Z did, in the beginning, it did have some issues. It was canceled at one point, and then the production got back on track. And I'm a big zombie fan. I love George Romero. I love I love the fast zombies. I love the slow zombies. But these zombies, they seem kind of scary to me.
They look like they're on speed, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's something creepy about these zombies that that the other zombies, their traits. I mean, there was one part of the trailer where they were running up to a wall and they were piling up like ants.
Dude, that was crazy scene.
Yeah, and I never seen like any zombie movie ever like did that before. And for some odd reason, these zombies seem a lot scarier.
Well, it actually reminds me a little bit of the zombies from I Am Legend, if you remember that film with Will Smith.
I will have to disagree. I Am Legend is about vampires, not zombies.
Really?
Yeah.
Vampires?
Vampires. No, I mean, like, go ahead and make your point.
Are you lying that they're vampires?
No, I'm dead serious. I don't think they're zombies.
They are totally zombies, or they're diseased in some way. Because I mean, it's based off of.
Okay, they're vampires. Vampires.
Okay.
Going back. Going back. World War Z, zombies look scary. Take it over.
Yeah, the zombies do look pretty scary, and you would know, Rocky. You are the resident expert on zombies, and so would you give this a thumbs up?
From what I saw right now, I do give it a thumbs up.
Cool.
There was some worry about it being like the book, but I think it's gonna. I personally think that it might be the last good zombie flick that we see before the series, the whole zombie genre dies out.
A bit about zombies I'm going to bring up. Actually, a thing I just remembered to add in, Zombieland TV has just started. It is available on Amazon Instant Prime. If you have Instant Prime right now, I think for about 2 weeks, you can watch the pilot for free right now.
All right. I'm going to definitely check that out.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for the show the other day, and by the way, Rocky, you are correct. They will have a zombie kill of the week each episode.
Awesome. I'm excited to see that. Are there any actors, actresses from the movie that's going to...
It's entirely different cast.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting. But it is a different cast, but the same character, so it'll be fun to watch. So for July movies, we actually have 2 sequels and 2 original films coming out. First up, we have Despicable Me 2, which is a sequel to the highly popular Despicable Me, which came out a few summers ago, starring the voice of Steve Carell as Gru, a supervillain who has found a soft side to his heart with I believe 2 or 3 little girls. I can't remember.
I think it's 3.
Thank you. Okay.
And I think it's going to be a really good family flick for the summer.
I agree, and I'm sure it'll do well with the hugely popular amusement ride added to Universal Studios.
Yeah.
Next up, we do have The Lone Ranger, which has definitely been quite a long, hard, arduous journey to get on screen, going through many directors, and finally put together, starring Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer.
Yeah, I know that Actually, my grandfather was a big fan of the Lone Ranger when it was on the radio back in the old days, and like seeing what he told me of the Lone Ranger and seeing the old episodes that I watched with him, I was kind of I didn't really know what to think of Tonto having that dead raven on his head. But Johnny Depp explained when he saw a painting of an Indian, there was a raven or a blackbird above its head that was actually flying, but he said that it looked dead, like it was just hanging on his head. So that's what gave him the inspiration of putting a dead bird on his head.
Very interesting. Yeah, I hope Johnny Depp brings his same level of curious acting to this role. I know that he was extremely. It definitely plays right into his Jack Sparrow, Mad Hatter kind of style. So
yeah,
we'll see how he does as that character.
And I am kind of excited about this, and it's good to see he's kind of like a superhero, but the Lone Ranger, but he doesn't have any special powers. So he is the underdog of this summer lineup.
I would agree. It definitely is the underdog, but Disney does love an underdog. No one had ever heard of Pirates of the Caribbean, and it did extremely well. So we'll see if they have the same type of success with Lone Ranger. But up next would be R.I.P.D. A lot of people don't know about this because the first trailer just came out last week. It's called Rest in Pieces Department, based off a comic adaptation. It actually looks extremely funny. And it actually reminds me, it's a less dark version of Constantine in my mind, in the sense that it involves the supernatural in the sense of heaven and hell, demons and angels. And there's a department of dead souls that come down from heaven and we have to take care of all the bad souls trying to get back on Earth in our realm, if you will. And the major characters are played by Ryan Reynolds, who's the young upstart, who's given a partner like any kind of police detective would, played by Jeff Bridges, who I absolutely am a huge fan of.
Yeah, me too. I loved him in the Big Lebowski, and after seeing the trailer, it's going to be a goofy movie. It's going to be lots of fun. It's kind of up in the open. I can't really say.
It'll probably be a renner. I mean, it'll definitely be a sure bet renner. But, if I'm bored one evening and I really feel like going to a movie, that might be one of those.
Yeah, same here. It's going to probably be along the lines of the Big Lebowski. Didn't do too well on the box office, but was like a cult phenomenon. And
we'll see. We'll see how it does. And rounding up July, we have The Wolverine, which is the sequel to the highly unpopular X-Men Origins Wolverine, which we've covered, but I will touch on a little bit more. There has been no new footage for Wolverine, so there's really not much to add other than the fact that I surely hope, and all listeners get to know me, I love Wolverine. He's like one of my all-time favorite characters. It's Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Star Wars, man. That's my stuff. And Wolverine, I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think he's a great cast. I just hope they do the story justice. It is set in Japan. I am a fan of James Mangold. He's a pretty good director. I hope they do this film well, and we'll see what happens when it comes out in July.
Yeah, well, personally, speaking from an outsider, I really don't care too much about Wolverine, and I think I'm kind of tired of seeing all these X-Men movies and Wolverine and all that stuff. So I'm kind of hoping that, from my standpoint, I'm hoping that I want to see something new. I think they're starting to beat a dead horse. But we'll see.
I hear you. And I think that is a common trend with Hollywood right now, is they find one thing and then beat it to the ground. It's the same thing with music. It's pretty much any media industry. Yeah. But I do have a good feeling that I think X-Men offers a whole tapestry of stories that you're not going to get in a lot of other universes. Very much like Star Wars. There's so many different characters and abilities and things that you've never seen on screen that really make for a cool story. And I think X-Men Days of Future go away next summer. But coming up in August, our final summer, where you really kind of see the last big movies. And I think there's two movies during that month that I'm really excited to talk about. And that's Elysium and Kick-Ass 2. Yeah. Elysium stars Matt Damon. I talked about that a little bit on our last show. As basically a guy living on Earth wanting to go to Elysium, which is a perfect world above Earth where people live without any problems. There's no problems with health, law, any issues. Everyone lives in total peace and prosperity, but everyone on Earth is left to live in the shambles of what is left in the cities, and it's a big mess. But in Elysium, Matt Damon's given a special technology where he's able to go up to Elysium and basically tell them, you don't get to have everything.
Yeah. I don't have any comment about that, but I do hope it's a good movie. I love Matt Damon. Ben Affleck isn't in it, so.
Well, I'm excited. One more thing about Elysium, it's the second directorial, movie being directed by Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9 just a few years ago. So I'm very excited to see his next film. I'm definitely a big fan of social science fiction, and he's definitely one of the top people in that field right now. The other film that I'm very excited for in August is Kick-Ass 2. We've talked very much about this in our shows, and Kick-Ass 2 looks to be really awesome. It looks like they take the gore factor to a whole nother level. The acting by hit girl Chloe Moretz, an actress, she's just growing into a very, very good actress, and I think she's going to be pretty good on film this time. She's a little bit older. I think the character's around 15 years old, which is similar to her age. So it's going to be interesting to see how she deals with, growing into those teenage years and being a psychotic, superhero on the side. So it should be interesting to see that on screen. Yeah. And thank God Nicolas Cage is no longer in those films.
Yeah. I agree. My first impressions of Kick-Ass 2 are the same as Kick-Ass 1. I'm thinking that maybe it's not going to be as good as people think it's going to be, but I will probably be proven wrong again this time around about Kick-Ass. But
I believe you will, Rocky.
And if you don't mind,
be proven wrong.
If you don't mind me adding a little special addition to the August movies, I did read that 300 Rise of an Empire is scheduled for like an August release. I did enjoy the first 300. Nothing has really been, I haven't seen a trailer or anything. It's all speculation right now. And you can try this out.
Yeah, that's what I've read pretty much too, Rocky. There hasn't really been a lot of explanation, but history-wise, it's set after the events. It's Rise of an Empire, if you will, by the subtitle. Yeah. But we haven't truly seen a full trailer yet for it.
And I'm sad that Zack Snyder will not be directing it. So
he's a little busy,
Yeah, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in this basket, but we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. And that pretty much covers all of the big films coming out this summer. And I said earlier in the show we were going to give I was going to give a brain review, if you will, of Oblivion, non-spoilers, because definitely it's just been released. So now it's time for a brain review. I saw Oblivion this past weekend, and I will be giving a non-spoiler-ish review. And basically, the film takes place in the year 2077. And so it's 60 years later. Earth was attacked by aliens. They were known as scavengers, or scavs, as they're called throughout the film. The moon was nearly destroyed. And the resulting upheaval and use of nuclear weapons has basically ruined the Earth's ability to support life. So Tech 49, also known as Jack Harper, being played by Tom Cruise, is now one of the last humans left on the planet, and other survivors have migrated to a space station called the Tet, which is a colony on Titan, which we all know is a moon of Jupiter. And he lives in a work tower thousands of feet above the Earth. And he and his communications officer and lover, Australian lover, Victoria, played by Andrea Riseborough, are part of an operation to extract the planet's remaining resources and use those to help power Titan.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack and Victoria undergo a security wipe, so they know nothing of their past and their past memories.
Yeah.
So basically, Jack's job is to do maintenance on what are called drones. These are different, think Matrix in the sense of different objects that fly around and protect these towers that are pulling the natural resources out, and protecting the stations that are all around, producing energy for the Tet colony.
Yeah.
And so the main contact they really have with the rest of civilization is a video link that they have with a character called Sally, played by Melissa Leo. And they basically are told they only have 2 weeks left on their tour of duty. Jack is suffering from these kind of dreams and flashbacks of being with this other woman on the 86th floor observation deck on the Empire State Building before the invasion. And that kind of sets the tone for the film right there. And what happens after that, I don't want to go into more detail because it will kind of give away the theme of the movie. But I can tell you Morgan Freeman as a character in the film. And it is a very good science fiction film. It definitely takes a lot of ideas from other films into play. I'm not going to reference which films those are because I don't want to give away where this film goes, because there is a great twist in the story, and I think it makes the movie all that much better to see. It looks beautiful on screen. It's directed by Kaczynski, who did the Tron Legacy film, and if you saw Tron Legacy, you know how beautiful that film was. The soundtrack is fantastic throughout the film. I highly suggest going to see it. It is actually a very good film to see in the theater. It definitely pops more on the big screen. It's not in 3D, which I actually was happy about. But it is available on IMAX. And if you are able to see it on IMAX, I would. It is a beautifully done film. I really liked Tom Cruise's acting in this film. He really did a great job. And so did Andrea Riseborough. She was very good in the film as well. It's definitely a sort of a mind warp to you towards the end of the film, where you're like, "Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Really?" You do that a few times. You're like, "Really? That's what happens? Really?" And it definitely surprises you along the way. But I would go check it out. It's definitely enjoyable.
Did it keep you guessing throughout the entire movie?
Yes, it does. I mean, if you've seen a lot of science fiction movies like I have, you can sort of figure it out. But you know what? I still was damn surprised at the end, because that's how well it was filmed by the director. Is even though you kind of knew where they were going, he still did it in a way where you were surprised.
So, like in a star rating, like 1 to 10, what do you give it?
I would give it a 3.5, close to 4 stars. It was a good film. It was a pretty good film. I mean, it wasn't blow me away, unbelievable film, but I mean, it was worth the money I paid. It was worth admission, and I definitely enjoyed the cast in it. Was very good. The story stood up, and the visuals were breathtaking.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to go see it, maybe this weekend.
Absolutely, take the wife.
Oh yeah. She definitely wants to go see a movie and eat, and I definitely want to go eat some buttered popcorn. So.
And there's a love story in there too, so she'll definitely like that.
Yeah. But I do believe that this concludes.
This does conclude our broadcasting hour here on Modern Nerdom. Next week we will be covering... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, our next show we're actually going to. Rocky and I have decided that it would be fun. I don't know why we thought this would be fun, but we're going to go and take part in Friday Night Magic: The Gathering, and we're going to try and get out with our lives.
Oh yeah. Well, Brain, you actually did experience Friday Night Magic.
Yes,
once before.
I do regret that journey.
Yeah, but I never got to experience it, and I love.
I can't wait to see your reaction.
Okay, I love Magic: The Gathering. I'm probably not like a hardcore fan like a lot of people are.
Right.
And I did get you and a few of our friends into playing Magic: The Gathering.
You did. You trained me. I was once your apprentice, but now I am the master.
Yes, and I.
Except you beat my ass twice today.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, it's all luck of the draw.
Stop patronizing me.
But we are gonna try to go in there and actually record, like maybe even video record some of our, our experience. And
when you see the interesting individuals that arrive slowly throughout the evening at these tournament events, it is quite an experience in itself to see the attire, the smells. Really, that is what really captures my my attention the most. The smells and the visuals. It's truly a sensory experience.
Yeah, and you warned me many times. Don't go. But
wear your deodorant, people. I implore people who attend these events, please. We created something called deodorant.
Yeah.
It helps to mask the scent that we make when we sweat. Please. I beg you.
But what you're seeing is someone who already experienced it, and me, which I'm very excited and very naive going into it. So I will tell you my honest opinion of what happens. And hopefully I
can't wait to see his reaction. I hope to capture it to share with all of you.
Dude, definitely record it on your phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's Friday Night Magic.
Dude,
Rocky and the Brain. No, it should be a
take fucking
fun
pictures.
Time.
Take pictures and post it like on our Facebook page too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh yeah.
Rocky and I have actually thought out. We might go in incognito. We're thinking of full on attire.
Oh yeah.
for this outing. So it may involve fingerless gloves. We're not sure yet. We're just talking it out. But we're gonna have a little fun with this.
Yeah, I agree, and I look forward to it. And let's kick ass or lose.
We're probably gonna lose. Let's just be honest.
All right. Well, I'm up for anything, as long as I get to experience.
I'm up for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll be covering that, as well as we will be joined by Rocky's very own wife, Jessica, next week. And she will be talking Harry Potter with us. And we'll be covering not just Magic the Gathering, but the Magic and Muggles.
Yes, and next show will be, its theme will be magic. Magic of Harry Potter, magic of Magic the Gathering.
That's right.
Yeah.
We got a whole lot of magic going on, people.
Yeah.
And we are from Central Florida, so we are home of the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, yes, Orlando. You can bring that up in your show.
Absolutely. And I'm very excited to have our guest next week. It'll be fun to have another person on the show, and we'll get to see Rocky's buttons pushed on air. It'll be fun.
In pictures, audio, video, let's bring this bitch on and wish me luck, guys.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we hope to
Okay,
see you
well,
in our forums and our Facebook page. And
Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that. Okay. And the best way to reach us for any questions and being involved in the show in the future, that is, we're on Twitter at ModerNerdom, on Facebook.com/ModerNerdom, and you can reach us via email. That's modernerdom@gmail.com.
And remember, that's ModerNerdom with one N.
That is correct, my better young apprentice. And finally, that's about all the time we have, actually.
And this is Rocky.
And I'm the Brain. And remember, listeners, share your nerdom with the world.
And get your nerd on.
And in the words of our 16th president,
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!